Time now to meet one of our current stars. Ladies and gentlemen, a big hand for Vice Captain Hamish Hartlett. Come right in, mate. Welcome, Hammer. Tell me, last year, Port fans so excited about the recruiting that was done off-season, and again tonight, later on, we're going to meet some very, very exciting young players again.
Yeah, no doubt. The few boys that we drafted last year and had a fairly significant impact on the way we played have certainly gone to another level over this pre-season, which is super exciting. And we've also got a new crop of guys in as well who have all shown at various times throughout the pre-season what they're capable of too. So most of those guys will get a chance tomorrow against the Crows in the under-23s game, and then we're into the season after that.
Oh, we beat them in the cricket. Let's beat them in the under-23s as well, eh? Hamish, I'm going to ask you right now to take us on a special journey.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and happy 150th. Believe it or not, if we were around in 1870, we would have watched a cricket club become a football club. The Port Adelaide Cricket Club became the Port Adelaide Cricket and Football Club, and very quickly dropped the cricket to concentrate on the new sport of Australian football. The game was in just its 12th year, so Port Adelaide is a pioneer, and for 150 years it has been at the forefront of many positive changes. Most recently, bringing the AFL to South Australia to complete a national competition, returning top-flight football to Adelaide Oval, and playing premiership matches in China, all in the past 30 years. We were there in 1877 when the game needed to come together to put together some uniform rules and the first league in Australia. That is the Port Adelaide way, always at the table when the big decisions need to be made. Many people are unaware, but we actually started in blue and white. But of course, we are most famous in black and white. We carry all of that history and tradition in the jumper we wear today in the AFL. We won our first premiership in 1884. We've won more premierships, 37, and 4 Champion of Australia titles than any other league club in Australian football. We are the only club outside of Victoria to have been called from a suburban competition to be part of the National League. We've been taking on the best from outside of South Australia since 1879, when we hosted at Adelaide Oval our first Victorian rival, Geelong. We started marking our territory on August 20, 1870, on Bucks Flat at Glanville, against the long-gone team known as Young Australian. We then moved to Alberton in 1880 and tormented teams passing the Cheltenham Cemetery in search of wins at our spiritual home. We have taken football back to Adelaide Oval, and since 2014, our fans have reminded all that we will never be torn apart, on or off the field. We are Port Adelaide, and we have been since 1870. In our 150th year, we celebrate our proud past, but also intend to be bold in the future. That is the Port Adelaide way. It is the legacy left to us from the club's founders. They left us a standard we not only have sought to uphold, but advance decade after decade. This is why the Port Adelaide Football Club is in the AFL today and taking the game beyond Australia. And all this has been done while recognising the pride it delivers to the most important people at our football club, you, our fans. Happy 150th, Port Adelaide. It's been a proud story for 150 years, and it's far from finished. Can now please welcome Ollie to the stage as we remember the 1914 Invincibles.
Only one team in SA League football has remained unbeaten in the season, Port Adelaide. Who else could it have been? They were the Invincibles. They played their 6 league rivals twice, home and away, for 12 wins with an 8-goal winning average. They won their first 2 finals by 54 and 79 points, while conceding just 1 goal to North Adelaide in the grand final at Adelaide Oval. They beat VFL Premier Carlton by 34 points for the Champions of Australia title. Then they defeated the best of the rest from the sample by 58 points to complete the greatest season in the club's and SA football history. Captain coach Jack Longdragon, Magarey medalist Jack Ashley, club greats Harold Oliver, Angela Congier and Shine Hoskins, and their 18 teammates marked their names in Australian football history. They put themselves in the Port Adelaide Hall of Fame, and most of all, they filled us with pride for an achievement no club has been able to match.
Thank you, Hamish and Ollie. A bit of the past and a bit of the present. William Drummond was a player that played in the Invincibles. He played in premierships in 1913 and 1914. And would you believe his grandson is a South Australian sporting legend? Please welcome Olympian and basketball champion Phil Smyth. Phil Smyth. So you grew up a mad Port man, I take it?
Yeah, I did grow up a mad Port man. It was good days for us though, because when Port won, we got a roast on Sunday. When they lost, it was pies and pasties. We didn't eat many pies and pasties back then, mate.
No, we didn't. That's right. I can relate to that. Your grandfather, a war hero, a Port Adelaide champion in the Invincibles, and a fisherman as well. I think they lived down at Semaphore. Is that right?
They did live at Semaphore. He used to take the net out in the boat and along Largs Jetty. Of course, you weren't allowed to net, but he was just putting it there to protect the fish.
Correct.
And he used to bring it in, just to show you what kind of bloke he was. Of course, when the Depression was on, he'd go out and fish, feed the family, and then he would take the rest of the catch down the street and give it to the people that didn't have enough to eat. Just an unbelievable man.
How good. What did he tell you about those Port Adelaide days, playing for the club?
Yeah, little bits and pieces. He was a really humble guy. So I can remember the thing about him. He had these massive, big hands. And he'd pick my brother and myself up and sit us on the old wooden boxes that the fruit and veg used to come in. And then he'd start telling a few stories about footy, but he'd talk more about his fishing and what a great fisherman he was. So he never bragged about, 1913, 1914 when they win the grand finals and he's best on ground in 1914. And then they played Carlton, of course, then you played the best team in Victoria. They beat Carlton, he's best on ground in that one as well. Yeah. They only played 12 games that season and then 2 for the finals. And he never talked about the war, never mentioned the war. I did find out that it was in July, I've got to get my dates right because I don't want to mess it up. 1918 was the battle in Hamel. He was a Lance Corporal and all the guys who were above him actually got killed and wounded as they were advancing, and so he had to get the troops together and finish the advancement, which he did. And I laugh about leadership today, when we say, oh, geez, those leaders are under pressure, aren't they? They're under pressure. Just imagine for a moment that the bloke running next to you is getting shot and he's dying. There's bombs going off and you've got to grab all these guys and advance them up a hill. And then they've got to trust you enough to go with you. I reckon that's real pressure.
You make a fair point. Phil Smyth, thank you so much for joining us. William Drummond, an important part of our history. We're going to go to our first break tonight. Can I please draw attention to the raffle? The magnificent footies in the middle of your tables. Staff will come around and check out the raffle tickets with you. Please enjoy your meal. Back with more of our legends shortly.